The unending wars of the Mann brothers. So dutifully led on by the administrator, the voice that the speakers use for their battle for gravel. They serve their beloved leaders who argue over the gravel and fight until that which gives us our paycheck, that which gives us freedom, that which gives us our lives. For you, however, the truth. The war is over, and the brothers are gone. You are given a new purpose. The beautiful Mann Co, which gives us our weapons, our ammunition that yearn to be fired at whatever target you wish, desire. Under the orders of Grey Man, we pay him tribute through the art of violence. The CEO of Mann Co is your canvas. So pick up your brush and paint the world red. Alright, now that we've got that intro over and done with. Versus Saxton Hale is an alternative game mode away from the payloads, intelligence, and control points of Team Fortress 2. One man, the aforementioned CEO of Mann Co, Saxton Hale, is tasked with killing every single mercenary that dares to attempt to overthrow his position in the name of Grey Man. The mercenaries are also trying to get rid of Saxton Hale to avoid dying and whatever. This video isn't about Saxton Hale himself. This is how to beat him, with all of the 9 classes. Before I start this video, we should also mention that there is a specialized place to play versus Saxton Hale. The leaders of the old school server run an amazing server, specifically for versus Saxton Hale. The reason most of this video is not recorded on it is because I'm really bad, and most of the really good players happen to play there. With that intro, let's get into the actual game where we can, start playing. First, there's Saxton Hale himself.
Oh, I'm gonna bite the living hell out of him!
I will not be explaining how to play Hale in this video. I suggest checking out this video, which goes over the basics of how to play Hale. There's also the solo light video, but that's an hour long, so... Okay, for real now. First, we have Scout.
Who wants some of this, bonk?
Scout's purpose, at least to me, is to annoy Hale more than any other class would. The movement tools he has allows him to escape any punch that Hale throws at him, with various items increasing that mobility. The most commonly used primary is the Babyface's Blaster, as it increases the speed of the Scout, making it even harder for Hale to hit him. The Force of Nature is also a strong option, as the knockback can help you stun Hale or get away from him yourself. It also ends up doing a lot more damage, but that's not really your purpose. You're playing relatively close to Hale, but not too close, to avoid his fist. Pepper him down with your primary or whatever secondary you have, and maybe hit him with a melee to throw him off. Scout secondaries that are worth using are few and far between. There's the Pretty Boy's Pocket Pistol, which you can use to pepper Hale down if you ever take a little bit of damage, like AoE from a slam or full damage. There's the Guillotine, which most use to deal some chip damage to Hale and get their Babyface's Blaster speed back. The Mad Milk is a supporting item which lets the rest of your team heal when they hurt Hale, and trust me when I say this, a lot of Scouts like to play selfishly, but the Mad Milk is probably Scout's most underutilized weapon in this game mode, because it doesn't deal damage to Hale. Keeping your team alive is half the battle, but most mercs can't help with that, which is why it's one of the best choices for Scout. The other pistols aren't worth mentioning, as the damage doesn't help that much compared to your other damaging or supporting secondaries. The Bonk Atomic Punch lets you escape a sticky situation, as negating a Saxton Punch without taking any damage is very strong and surprisingly powerful as an escape tool. You kinda do have to hope that Hale doesn't chase you until it wears off though. Try and ride the knockback of any attack he uses on you whilst you're under the effects of Bonk so you can escape easier. Your health is low enough for Hale to instantly kill you in a single punch, so if he catches you just as it wears off, pray to whatever entity you believe in, because only a divine being can save you now. In my opinion, there are only 2 Scout melees worth using. The Fan of War and the Sandman, both of which kind of suck outside of Saxton Hale's game mode. Whatever, the Atomizer gives you an extra double jump, but double jumping gets rid of your BFB speed, so preserving it is something you need to keep in mind the entire time. Sure, the fish may let the entire lobby know that your local Lime Scout hit Hale with a melee before promptly eating Fist. But if you really think about it, these two bats are both supporting items. Scout isn't going to do a sizable amount of Hale's massive health pool consistently with just a bat. The Fan of War marks Hale for death, as he takes mini crits from every attack. Hitting Hale whilst he's focused on someone else with it can make everyone else deal a lot more damage to his health. You can also use it to charge your babyface blaster speed faster, as he takes extra damage from your shots as well. And the Sandman... Oh god, where do I start with the Sandman? I hate this weapon so much. It slows Hale to a crawl, basically turning the hydrogen bomb into a coughing baby. This was my #1 source of hatred back when I started playing this game mode. The lost health doesn't particularly matter, because you're a one-shot already. If you get hit with an AoE attack, a health pack isn't that hard to find, whatever. But a punch is always going to kill you. You know, unless you're Ubered or have a ton of overhealth and a few resistances. But that godforsaken baseball slows Hale down to a snail's pace. Extremely useful if you're one of the last few alive and Hale is tunnel visioning you. I typically use the Babyface's Blaster, Mad Milk, and Fan of War, getting a little damage in myself with the gun before supporting my team with health and bonus damage. When I'm tunnel visioned, I lock in and hit a melee before he can react, and then run like hell. Because I don't want to fight Hale. Your game plan is to stay at mid-range or long range at almost all times. You can go in for a melee every once in a while, but we always know that a single mistake can cost you your life. And if you walk into a wall whilst being chased, let your deity of choosing save your soul. Next is everyone's favorite lead-poisoned American, the Soldier.
You are all weak. You are all bleeders.
There are two main ways of playing Soldier, but believe me when I tell you that one is so severely outclassed that it's not even worth talking about. And if you don't know what I mean, have you ever heard of Soundsmith? That's right, Soldier is viable, and he's better than Soldier in almost every way. Why is that? I mean, a Market Garden can only do 195 damage when you actually hit the garden. That'll do nothing to Hale's extraordinary health pool. Well, Soldier asked Spy and Engineer how a measly shovel could do more damage. Spy told Soldier about his backstabs, and then the Engineer told both a little about math. But what could math do with a shovel? Well, let me introduce you to a little formula that I've grown fond of. Trust me, this is related to the game mode. Every time you Market Garden Hale, you will deal damage equal to Hale's max health divided by the amount of living mercenaries divided by 2.5, multiplied by 3, and then multiplied by 0.75. In other words, a lot of damage. If I had to give an example, let's say Hale started with 20,800 health, because there were 20 mercenaries when the round started. Hale killed 10 of the mercenaries since then, and you have just landed a garden. You would deal 1,687 damage in a single strike. Keep in mind that landing a garden is guaranteed to deal at least 500 damage, so if Hale started with 501 health somehow, and there's still 2,147,483,647 mercenaries still alive, you'd be dealing 500 damage every hit. And if you're skilled enough, you won't be landing a single garden per round. So pick up your fancy shovel, and get to jumping. Deal those insane values in a single hit, and show Rick May just how American you can be. Oh, and make sure you don't get hit. Fall damage is a death sentence, because you will be one-shot after. Health packs and medics are your greatest friend. If you don't want to play Trollger, there are more loadouts to use. The ones I would suggest over others would be the direct hit if you're an aiming god, the airstrike if you still want to Market Garden, I'd suggest using the parachute, Trollger, or airstrike. It's genuinely one of the only ways to Garden Hale. Or the Cowmangle, paired with either the Buff Banner or the Conqueror. The damage resistance with the battalion's backup is only really as good with a single loadout. My notes for the weapons I mentioned would be the direct hit mini-crits Hale when he's in the air so he doesn't have to be launched by an explosive. The airstrike gains heads every 250 damage, dealt by the rocket launcher. So if you're using it, stick by dispenser or rotate between health packs and ammo pack constantly, it takes a lot of ammo. The Cowmangler works best with the banners because of the secondary fire causing afterburn so you can toot your horn more often. There's also the Samurai Soldier, but at that point, I'd suggest playing Demoman. It's the black box, battalion's backup, and half Zatoichi. The black box for longer range, backup to take less while staying in Hale's face, and the half Zatoichi is your main weapon. Anyway, onto Demonite's main enemy. Pyro aims, or lack thereof, to piss Hale off a little less than Scout does. Yeah, you can deal damage, or heal with a power jack, or pepper Hale with a secondary, but that's just it. Secondary. Not weapon, but fire. Secondary fire.
Air blast.
Air Blast controls Hale. It is a way of life. Hale rushing you, Air Blast. If he's on your medic, Air Blast. If you're trying to protect an engine nest, Air Blast. This damn thing can stop Hale from playing the game. I've lost several times as Hale because I've been air blasted off of the point. It's just so frustrating. For a good loadout, ditch the Flog unless you don't fear for your life, and the Dragon's Fury. Take any of the secondaries, except for the Gas Passer. They don't change your game plan much. And equip the Power Jack. You get 25 health on hit and a speed boost whilst you're holding it. The bullet damage penalty means nothing to a guy with no gun. You spray him with fire, air blast him when he's close, you can use your secondary weapon or a melee hit when he's stunned. On some maps you can actually trap Hale in spawn, like Skirmish or the custom map Thorn. However, the godsends at the leaders of the old school server nerfed Air Blast, and in doing so, made Pyro a class that nobody plays. You can still Air Blast on casual, so if you want to make someone mad, play on Valve official servers. Other things to say would be, the backburner does do insane damage, but if you're looking for raw primary fire damage, you use the Flog. The secondary choice means nothing. It's burst damage or an escaping tool. Your melee is the Power Jack, and the Power Jack only. Your melee always does critical hits guaranteed, so all you'd get from the Extinguisher is a similar speed boost to the Power Jack. Hale can't use the Sapper, so there's no point in using the Homewrecker, the Maul, or the Neon Annihilator. He also doesn't have a pocket medic, so there's no point in using the Third Degree. That's all for the character that gets gender bent the most. Now onto the one that hates fighting the character that gets gender bent the most.
How's that feel, you blockhead?
Demoman has two realistic playstyles, unless you have projectile aimbot. Sticky Trapping Legend, or Demonite TF2. And another player who has made a video on this game mode knows a lot about Demonite TF2. Demonite, in my opinion, is the best class to play against Hale. You got your boots, you got your Tide Turner, and you got the half Zatoichi. There's not much to actually say about playing Demonite TF2, just what he's meant to do. I can't go in depths as much as Solo Light can because I'm just not that good at Demonite. You need to be up in Hale's face as much as you can. The half Zatoichi heals you every time you hit Hale, so it's got a lot of risk reward, similar to the kunai. The first time Hale hits you, you'll take far less damage as the shield you're using will break and absorb most of that damage. If the first hit happens to be a Saxton Punch, you take 70% less damage from that hit. You are still able to charge even though the shield's broken, it just won't protect you from another hit anymore. The Islander isn't as bad, but it's better to learn with the Zatoichi instead. For the sticky trappers of Saxton Hale's game mode, you're looking for choke points like the FNAF room in Skirmish or the Engineer room in Distillery. Put a bunch of stickies down and wait for Hale to find you. You'll be hoping for someone to lead Hale to you and then blow all of those bombs up, dealing a couple thousand damage before promptly falling over dead. Ask a local medic to crit you to place the stickies before telling him to go and actually help the team. There's really not much to say for Demoman because either you're punching Hale in the face all the time or sitting in place until you're the last one left. Trust me, don't be that guy.
You did well!
Heavy Weapons Guy, the tank of TF2. High health, big gun, and many bullets. The frontliner. How does he compare in versus Saxton Hale? Find a sniper spot, sit down, spew bullets at the Australian. It's not the only playstyle, but it's kind of the easiest one. You can attempt to frontline, but heavy slow speed doesn't allow for that, as well as the fact you're just easier to hit, sending you flying almost every time. That's why I stick to sniper spots. Make Hale fight you, not have you hunting down Hale. If you still want to hunt down Hale, there's always the variant Boxing Heavy. Remember how Demonite is the designated melee subclass? Heavy has two melees that are actually considerably good. The Warrior Spirit and the Holiday Punch. Yes, the meme weapon is good. The Warrior Spirit is the Demo Knight of Heavy. 50 health on hit, extra damage in exchange for a damage vulnerability. The damage vulnerability doesn't mean too much to you, because you're still going to be 2-shot. It does still kind of suck from the AoE of Slam and Saxton Punch, but you heal by hitting Hail. More risk for less reward, but Hail will underestimate you. For the Holiday Punch, get lucky. Gambling is a skill, and a laugh taunt is the jackpot. Just run away when you get Hail to laugh, because if Hail takes too much damage, he just straight up explodes. Make a small distance and then shoot Hail with your gun. Now, just so I don't ignore secondaries, please just use the sandwich or the banana. Drop item every time it's available. Help your team. The shotguns aren't worth the slot because Scout is just too powerful, so if you want to use a shotgun, you play Scout. The stake isn't great because you already have guaranteed melee crits unless you're using the Holiday Punch, so you're only getting a speed buff, which, to be fair, is a nice bonus, but it's not worth the slot because that food could be doing so much more, like keeping you alive.
How'd that plan turn out for you, dummy?
Engineer is kind of an outlier to the rest of the cast because you don't want to be actively fighting Hail most of the time. All of the weapons that Engie has access to are viable, except for the Pomson and the Short Circuit, but those two are kind of obvious. The melee choice doesn't really change your gameplay, except there are two that do change your gameplay significantly. However, to get a grasp on those, we should go over the basic gameplay loop first. Set up your nest. I like to set mine on the point so there's an easy dispenser and a level 1 sentry. I then find my engineer nest spot that I actually want to use and that actually makes sense, and then wait for the other buildings to go down before building a full nest there. The whole nest up to level 3, including an escape teleporter. The second Hail gets too close, I either go in for a melee swing or teleport out instantly. That's with any of the wrenches save for the Eureka effect and the Gunslinger. Those two are the drastic changes. First, the Gunslinger. Set up a dispenser in the middle of a crowded space, usually the point. Set a sentry somewhat nearby, then run to the other side of the map and wait for the sentry to go down, before placing another one, repeating that cycle ad infinitum. Or until I'm dead. Or until Hail is dead. The shotgun comes out when I'm getting tunnel visioned, and when he gets close, I risk the melee hit every single time. 195 is amazing considering the sentry does damage after you die. Then, there's the Eureka effect. You find your 1 NG spot and get everything to level 3 before warping out at the first sign of danger and then continuing until you're dead. A lot of Hells can't find the teleporter exit, and if they do, you can always just make a new one. Both of these unique playstyles do revolve around running around a lot, but at least the Gunslinger does let you play more combatively if you want. Getting good at Engineer outside of versus Saxton Hale doesn't mean much because people aren't typically fiending for ammo packs, which is great because most maps have a ton of them, except for Nucleus. On Nucleus, the Gunslinger is a must-have if you're planning on playing long-term. Metal management is a non-issue. The maps are easy to memorize for the location of the packs. I could probably label the easiest ones for the casual maps. For example, there are no large packs on Skirmish, but there's a medium in the Lava Cave just above Hail Spawn, 2 in the Crocodile Room, and 1 in the FNAF Room. For Distillery, there's a large to the left of the point, as well in the NG Turtle building, in the building to the right of point, off the ledge to the left, and next to the large building. Knowing this just makes rotations far easier, because my metal will constantly be at 200. And as an extra positive, most Hails don't target sentries because they aren't a player. Some sentries can do upwards of 1,000 damage alone if the Hail doesn't bother it at all, which sets up for more Frontier Justice crits, leading to far more damage. If you don't want constant action, Engineer is easily the class to play.
The healing is not as rewarding as the hurting.
Medic is known to be the most stiff classes in terms of viability outside of versus Saxton Hale. Crossbow, stock, Ubersaw. In versus Saxton Hale, it's essentially the same, but at least you can swap off the crossbow for the overdose as an escape tool. It's worth learning how to play both Medic and Casual and Demo Knight in versus Saxton Hale if you want to play Medic. Medic ends up in a lot of melee combat when there's less and sometimes even more players. The Ubersaw ends up being your lifeline. 4 hits is a guaranteed Uber. If you can juke Hale enough for the 4 hits, that's 8 seconds of a safety net that can be deployed at any moment. And who will Medic use that Uber on? It's hard to say. If you notice a scout isn't very good at avoiding Hale in a previous round, then you can use it to keep him alive. The Trolja doesn't need Ubers, just keep them alive when you should be okay. Ubering a Pyro is genuinely pretty good, and can be a few hundred free damage if the hail doesn't instantly run away. Demoman is a good consistent Uber, allowing him to take far more risks. Heavy doesn't need Ubers, but it is a solid option when there's low players alive. Engineer doesn't need them unless you're trying to save his life. The Sentry will do enough damage and the NG will kinda just be maintaining or running. Medics can Uber other medics if they're the last two, unless you're trying to use the Uber chaining strategy, which can be some good fun when done right. Sniper doesn't need an Uber unless it's to save their life, but the snipers do tend to have crazy melee potential for some reason. And Spy also doesn't need an Uber unless it's to save their life, if you know they're low. I'll explain why in the Spy segment. However, now that you know about Uber priority, what else is there? Personal safety? Demoman can teach you that. For Medic, you have a bit of a resistance, so you don't get one-shot by hail. You can always try and ride the damage that the fists do, but you need to be careful of full damage. Other than that, Medic is simple to explain, but hard to play. Thankfully, and in my opinion, Medic is far easier in versus Saxton Hale than normal game modes, so it shouldn't be too hard to just pick up Medic out of nowhere. Don't worry, when Lazy Purple uploads how it feels to play Medic, you should be able to understand this far easier.
Thanks for standing still, wanker.
Sniper. What does Sniper do? Well, stand in place and snipe. It's in the name. Not all maps are good for this Australian, but Distillery is easily the best one. You find a spot high up and just try to hit your shots. They don't even have to be headshots, body shots are really good too. Most of the sniper weapons are great, except for the Huntsman, unless you love being close to the guy that can one-shot you. If you can still stand your ground there, then the Huntsman is good, but I'd say the most accessible loadout would be the full piss loadout. But exchange the Bushwhacker for stock, because you already have a 100% crit chance with melee. Letting your team get mini crits just for hitting a body shot from across the map is insane utility. If you don't want to use the Sydney Sleeper, then the other rifles are also pretty good. My personal choice is a Bizarre Bargain, because I end up hitting accidental headshots a few times per round. The Heatmaker is also a good choice because it charges 7 times faster. Just know that there's not much you can do if you go into a duel with Hale unprepared.
I never really was on your side.
I know that segment was relatively short, but last, and definitely not least, the Spy. Remember that equation from the Engineer segment? Yeah, it applies to the backstab as well. But it's a little harder to hit because you're so squishy. That's why everybody uses the most hated loadout from Casual. The Kunai, Dead Ringer, and the L'étranger. On-kill effects are actually triggered on backstab, so the Kunai heals you to the max that it usually does every backstab, and the Big Earner lets you go fast every time you stab him. All you really need to do to fight Hale is abuse the fact that he's constantly distracted and then move in. When he is focused on you, you can pull out the Dead Ringer, which will save you from everything, including a Saxton Punch, as long as you're at full health. And the L'étranger fills the Dead Ringer up way faster. When Hale decides to target you, he will always force the Dead Ringer, and if you're in the last 3 players alive, he will follow you to the ends of the earth because he can see the aura around you even whilst you're cloaked. The other weapons that are actually good, the Diamondback and occasionally the Cloak and Dagger, so I can be a bit sneakier. However, they're kind of niche and less universal than the aforementioned loadout. The rest of the weapons aren't as good. The Big Earner does have its own place, but the Kunai lends itself to surviving far more. You can try to go for trick stabs, but distraction will always be your best friend. I'd recommend watching someone like Saxton Hale 2 to get your Spy basics down, and then try to apply it in VSH, and find what best suits you. Usually, it will just be waiting for everyone else to crowd in front so you can take Hale from behind. Wait, that does— This is the only way it could have ended. War no longer needed its ultimate practitioners. It had become a self-sustaining system. Mann Co was crushed under the brother of the always bickering brothers made to crush each other over gravel. Samsara of respawns and new rounds. Death without life. Null infinitum. And all that remains is war without reason. A magnum opus. A warm tower of flesh. A man made to continue war is a man made to end war. He was beautiful. Arms stretched like antennas to heaven. You were beyond the customers. You reached for control. And you lost it all. None were left to mourn for your death. No final words, no concluding statement, no point. Perfect closure. This is the only way it could have ended. Thank you for watching me ramble about my favorite TF2 game mode. If this video does well enough, I might make a video on how Hale beats all of the 9 classes, but we'll just have to wait and see. If you enjoyed watching this, like, subscribe, yada yada, I don't really care if you do. Special thanks to some of my friends from the leaders of the old school server, those being VDOT, Agnes, Measure Rousey, one of my favorite people, Goobshnu, who you may recognize from the Prime Souls Hale videos, Tangle, the most insane Trollja player I've ever met, and myself for somehow being able to finish this. I'm a very lazy person. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later. I'll still be uploading daily Hale wins, don't worry about that, I'm getting my wins and I'm uploading them every day. Bye!